Welcome everyone to another episode of the Sorare Summit. My name is Yas, aka This Kid is 40, and I'm with Adit. How are
Yo,
you,
yo,
Adit?
yo, guys. How are you guys? We had it's a pretty decent week, I must say, on Sorare this week.
So you're feeling good?
Oh, very good. For now, lah.
You're over the
For now.
moon? You're over the moon?
Cautiously optimistic is what I'm gonna say.
That's a good way to say it. So yeah, man, it's been so today what we're gonna cover a little bit is we're gonna talk about our performance. It's been probably a good week for the both of us, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also do the results of our first giveaway. We will talk a little bit about Sorare news. There's some really crazy things that happened during the week, including the fact that the unique Mbappe auction went for 180k euros. We'll talk a little bit about that. Then we go through the usual stuff, right? Saints, sinners of the week. And then we'll disclose our new 220 euro, 15 euro challenge. And then last but not least, just highlighting some of the things that we're going to do for the next game week. And then that's basically it, man. So I think as a start, right, we'll talk a little bit about the performance of, how we both have been doing. So I'll kind of, share Mr. Adit's first, because I think
Let's
Adit
go.
did. So Adit, talk a little bit about, how you felt, going through this whole week for you.
Honestly, I was not expecting my week to be this good. I was hoping one card. Okay, I was fine with one card. So when I saw I was getting tier 3s, which I haven't been in this position before, I was ecstatic. I was like, tier 3s, doesn't matter who I get. At the end of the day, I'm making profit in my players, which I did, and I got cards and rewards. That's the name of the game. That's what you should aim for at the end of the day. And for the fact that for my All-Star, despite me having a DNP because of a shocking decision from the Dortmund manager, and it came back to bite him, I can't say anything more, but yeah, I'm pretty ecstatic with the performance I had, because even in the drafts I did pretty decent. Even the Bundesliga draft I was not expecting, I did decently well. So I think overall, on a common and limited point of view, I think I did pretty well. What about yourself?
So what do you feel that what do you do a little bit more than compared to other weeks? Because this was probably the best week you've had ever. You got 2 tier 3s, 1 tier 5, right? Your All-Star, your tier 5, you got it with technically 4 players, which is pretty crazy right here. But maybe you could just share, your thoughts on basically what you did differently this week compared to other weeks.
I think this week I focused much more on matchups, because last few weeks I've just been going on the names and how big they are and where they're positioned in the table. So now, like for Chiquinho, he was playing a team in the 14th or 15th place. So, and he was an AA monster, like unreal performance for him. And even Park Young-woo, he's in playing for Ulsan, and he's in first position, and they came up against Jeju, who weren't playing that well. I watched the game; they weren't that convincing. So I think it depends on whether you think the players inform or go for matchups. And for this week, I went for matchups. Even though Alexander Meyer wasn't technically a good matchup against Bayern, you're expecting to get hammered, to be honest. So yeah, that was what I looked for. Matchups was the most important thing for me this week.
Okay, so your tier 2 tier 3s came from Cap 270 and Champ America, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk through Cap 270, man. Like what kind of, who was your star, what were your thoughts to it?
So I have to give a shout out to Dylan, one of our friends. He was the one who told me about Hendrik Bonman. I would have never scouted him before, but he told me that he's a starting goalkeeper. And now, because they split the league into 2 halves, he's in the bottom league. So I thought, and I looked at his price, and it was pretty decent price. I got him for 20 or 22. So it was a decent price starting. That's the most important thing. I suffered also because of a non-starting goalkeeper. But if it wasn't for him telling me about this goalkeeper, I think I would have suffered in 270. So, and then for Better Lille, he had a good game in terms of matchup and in terms of how he played. Although I obviously could have put captain on another player, but I was always convinced that he was going to be the player that I was going to captain. So
So-
for me,
so-
I'm not.
Yeah, just to kind of add on to that. So when you captain a player, is your decision based on AA or is it based on decisive?
AA, because decisive, you never know. A player
true.
could have
I agree.
a terrible match and then you suffer. So that's why if you see the players I captain, they're all heavily AA based. So that's why those were the players I really looked for.
Cool. So, and then of course you have Champ America, right? And
Our
you have that guy again.
star boy.
Okay, let's just do a bit of a detour, right? Because
Sure.
the price increase, right? Oh my god, it's price increase.
It's tempting. It's so tempting.
So,
I can't lie.
so there are new MLS cards that have been minted, right? So, but I mean, there's one that went for 68 euros, man. Just to remind, I bought mine roughly around here. I mean,
You bought it for $10, guys. $10. Just unreal.
66. These are all the new cards, but there are some going for pretty low though. Someone have selling, but I think it's because of maybe low.
It's because he's trading, I think. Cards. That's why. But I don't know how much willpower I have to keep him, because really I can fund a lot of teams just by selling one player, and it's so tough to just keep him around.
Yeah. But the thing about Eden Morris now is that he's starting to be not. At one point in time, he was a good player for the cap modes, but now he can't. You can't cap him anymore because 61.
He's way too expensive for a cap mode.
Yeah, so he's now like my mainstay in my under 23.
Yeah,
he's gonna be my main under 23 midfielder at least for the foreseeable future if he continues this. But yeah,
would you prioritize under 23 or would you prioritize the other cap modes in your opinion?
So we can talk about this later, but.
Sure.
But under 23 is one of my high priorities because of the quality of cards. Like this week, my reward, right? I got a very, very good under 23 card, even though it's like tier 4.
Right? And he was so good. And for the price, he is unbelievable that you got him.
So that's the thing. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about your rewards then, right? So let's see your rewards. The beauty of Sorare data. Guys, we're showing the rewards, buddy. But yeah, you could just, let me see, it's loading.
Yeah. So I got Tim Ream of Fulham. He starts quite a few games for Fulham. He's a bit on the older side. So, but the season's ending, and I think Fulham want to end on a high. So they'll probably play the tried and trusted players, which he is one of them. And since I've been trying to get more players in, I had to sell my Zardes and Tim Ream because I don't keep much cash on me, so I had to sell them to fund other players. Nathan Teo on. I'm not sure whether he'll sell or not. I'm tempted. I put him on my transfer to sell, but I'm not sure if he'll sell because at such a low price.
He's 20 years old. He might suddenly like get a move somewhere, you know. Like, yeah. So I don't know. Okay, this is just one of the things. So for me, what I realized, right, like super young players, right. Their career just started. Yes, it can go a lot of ways, right? But who knows, right? So I use the Enzo Fernandez as an example. There's a lot of players also like, Gratuda. A lot of these young players that came out of nowhere and then suddenly boom, after a while they get a good move and then they have a run of games and then they become. So, I mean, if he's going to be like 50, 60 cents, why don't you just keep, right? Yeah.
My thought process also is that since it's the end of the season, he might get more minutes because the coaches do usually play the youngsters at the end of the season. So he may get. I've put him on just a 1 day like transfer. So if he gets bought, he gets bought. If he doesn't, I'll keep him and play him. So for me, it's no harm on that.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's your week. I'll run into my week. So my week, card wise, it wasn't probably the best, but to me, it's a big win because finally I hit rare threshold. Which is something that I've been aiming to do for quite some time. It was a very nervous week for me when it comes to that. I'll talk a little bit about that. So in terms of cards, I won 2 tier 4 and 1 tier 5. I won my All-Star didn't do too well. I mean, it's funny because Celtic had you talk about matchups, right? Celtic was going up against the second bottom team. And yeah, they all had like just okay stars, man. I had to expect that. Starfelt had a really shitty game by his standards. Messi did not do well because they lost the game, but even though he didn't do well, that's Messi for you. Murik did pretty okay, but I mean, this is probably the biggest team, and I've actually sold all of them. They're all out of the club already.
Fair enough.
I've started kind of moving my gallery more to rare. So I have a lot more rare players. I'll talk a little bit about that. So the All-Star, I mean, I won't go through the rest, but I think the thing that really highlighted, so cap 240 was pretty painful for me because it was a 0.64 to tier 5. So all I needed was someone to just opt out a little bit. And the screwed up part also was Jen Shoji had a really good game until he scored the last 2 goals, which was 2 last-minute goals. Yeah, it's pretty shitty. Yeah. But yeah, so, and I mean, if you guys are looking for very, very good young players, I think the Saint Etienne young stack, I have 2 guys, Sadiel Sau and Ines Nakulu. Those guys are insane. And of course, I mean, we'll go to why I won. So this was my threshold team. So my threshold team is very, very interesting because, I just realized there's audio also. I went through the whole thing. I never talked about who they are. But okay, I apologize. Okay, but I'll just explain. So my threshold team is Joe Willis from Nashville. John Nelson from St. Louis. Seo Min Woo, Korean player from Gangwon. Ryota Nagaki from Shohan Velma. And then last but not least, Lukian. So Lukian from Avispa. So Lukian from Avispa had a very good matchup. They were going against Yokohama FC. Avispa has been doing very, very well. And he actually got an assist. So I was very happy in the first half. But during the first part, then I think the end of the first half, this Joker decides to concede a penalty. So he has like an assist and a concede penalty. So that eradicates puts the decisive back to 35. And he's not known to be a decisive AA scorer. So he ended up at like 31 points. Okay, so I was like, screw it. Then what happened was that I think Joe Willis played after that, and Joe Willis had an insane game. So he had 82 points, 83 points. So I was like, okay, I got a chance here. And then John Nelson didn't have a good game. They lost. St. Louis lost their first match against Minnesota. Ryota Nagaki, right? And you might want to, if you're looking for cap mode, guys, if you're looking for good, cheap, limited cards, and Powell has a lot of this card, by the way. He is a very, very consistent AA scorer. It's perfect for cap mode. He's not expensive. Shonan is a decent team this year at least, and he will rack in AAs. So even though he didn't have the best of matches, he usually rack in AAs. The other guy that does that, so this is my strategy, right? I always try to get a few players that could have the element of getting super high scores, which I thought will look in, and then mix them up with people that have very good AAs, right? And Seo Min Woo, another one is Seo Min Woo from Gangwon. So this guy, I tell you, I was like biting my nails, right? Because everybody played, and I'm waiting for a K-League score. It takes 48 hours. So he was like going at 30 plus or something like that, right? So I needed him to actually have at least 50 plus in order for me to hit threshold. And I literally only knew the last one. So he did very well, 58 points, good AAs, and yes, your boy finally hits threshold. So to me, threshold is, I know it's a big win for me. It's something that is not easy because I'm starting to explore the rare. And I tell you, it's a lot more difficult than people think. Limited to me is a lot easier. And rares is very scary because you're holding cards with higher value. And the other one that did really well for me that I'm super happy about. So my Champ Asia somehow managed to get a reward very luckily, but it's a super. But the one that that really made my week is this one. So as a Newcastle United fan, I should wear Newcastle. I know I'm wearing AC Milan jersey. I'll wear a Newcastle United jersey next podcast. So as a Newcastle United fan, Newcastle won 2-0. I have a Newcastle stack. I had Shah, Trippier, Joe Willock, and Isak. And I had Ramsdale playing around. But yes, won a tier 4. And my rewards, just to share with everyone my rewards. And I think, guys, Newcastle looks to be of good value. They're on a very good run right now. Last night, we are recording this on a Thursday afternoon or morning. So last match, they actually, they beat West Ham 5-1, which is pretty crazy. So just to show you my rewards, I managed to get 3 rewards. The first one was, the Asia one is pretty useless. Shin Shi-gye, he plays, but he one of the worst AA scorers I've ever seen in my life. I got this guy called Marvin Sanaya from which is why I said I always like to prioritize under 23s, because some under 23 players, right, with utility are always going to have a premium. So, and he's cheap right now, which is pretty amazing. It's only about $3, but he has really, really good scores. He plays for Rodez, and they are like mid-table, so he's probably going to stay in League 2 next year. And then the second one, which I think was really interesting, is this guy called Tete. So he's not playing for Leicester right now, He plays from Leicester City. He used to be a very, very good scorer back then. People forget when he was in Lyon, he was tearing the League One up. So for me, this is more of a, I would say, long-term play. If he plays for Leicester, he probably still not get any minutes. But if you look at if he gets like a move back to the League One, like there was a point in time where this guy was like tearing up the league, man. So and he was a decisive monster when he was at Lyon. Yeah. So for me, if he gets this was the point of time when he was doing like there was like in a run of like I think 7-8 games, he actually had a decisive in every one of them.
That's
Insane,
unreal.
Right? That's unreal,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Like I think he's maybe not a good fit in Leicester, but imagine him like maybe playing for Leicester when Leicester gets relegated, or moving to the Eredivisie, or moving to a lower team, right? I think he would be a very, very good player. So I'm gonna keep him. He's gonna be a long term. And I just realized he's under 23 until next year. So I still have some sort of under 23 utility for him. So those were my results, man. And I'm pretty happy. 2 thresholds and a couple of cards. I mean, there's nothing much more I can ask for. Okay. So now
your point about Tate, right? If he gets relegated, I see players like Harvey Barnes, Madison, all of these players leaving. So actually, it would be correct. Perfect. He would probably start. But he might leave also. Because he's on a high. He's on a high wage. So I don't think he'll stay. I mean, but if he stays, amazing, right? I mean, because Harvey Barnes are leaving, right? So I'm expecting Harvey Barnes to leave. There's no way a player of his quality will stay, in my opinion. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do now, which is pretty important, I'm going through is actually to look at our. I'm not happy for this, but we got to look at our 220. So we had a 220 challenge between us. So which Adit has won pretty handsomely. Cool.
By the way. So talk to your 220 team, man. Like who? I mean, you didn't really perform that well. It's just that you performed better than me, though. That's all.
That's all I needed. That's literally all I needed, just to beat you. But honestly, overall, I was kind of disappointed with my 220 team because in my head the matchups were working, and I thought it was going to be a good game week for me on terms of 220, even in terms of like scores. Raymond Gadis, he got subbed off early, and he wasn't playing that well. He committed a few fouls, so it really killed into his score. And then he got subbed off early. It kind of turned me off from him. I'm thinking of selling him, but just disappointing performance in my opinion from him. Nabel, I'm so happy with because his team is in good form and he was performing. He just all AA based. He's 19 years of age, so he has a lot of time in terms of being an under 23. If I ever want to move into the competition, I think he's a sure stay in my team for that. Ki Sung Young, I was so happy to see him perform. And this is the problem about K-League, like you were saying, his score showed as 60 the whole time. So, and I was just wondering if he's gonna do anything or not. Because the problem for K-League will update 24 to 48 hours later. So you're just, and especially if you're on the edge to get a prize, is the worst thing because you don't know where you are and you don't know whether other people are in the prize or not. And Vogel Sama came on as a sub on the 84th minute. I think I was chewing your ear on WhatsApp. I was so frustrated he was not coming on. Honestly, good that I beat you, but in terms of a whole game week perspective, I was expecting way more.
Agreed. Just to kind of run through mine for a little bit. Same, like mine was just unbelievably horrible, like beyond words horrible. My 220, he was one of the worst performing. I think probably the worst 220 team I've ever fielded. Actually, both my 220s were really bad. Both my rare and my non-rare. So my score was in the end 145 points. It was too bad. So first, Janice, the goalkeeper, had a howler. That's one 3-0 loss. So he's gonna probably be one of my sinners with Domagoj Broderick because I think Salentina, there were a lot of good scorers in that team. But he had the worst team. This was he didn't have any negative decisive, but he only scored 20 points. So which means he was a minus 15 on AA. How the hell did he do that?
even if you get a red card and all, you still wouldn't even reach that score. That's the worst
Exactly.
part.
So that's one. Nkosi Burgess had a very bad game also. He's been doing good scores. I'm keeping him still. Actually, I'm keeping both. Because the thing about Bradarick is that I'm thinking that, okay, you know what? His cap is going to go even lower. I can put him in another team. It's going to be useful for me in another team. And hopefully he does well. Right? The Alexander Pavlovic, same team as Ki Sung-Yung. I had Ki Sung-Yung in another planet because I have both of them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Pavlovic was so bad. So they lost, right? Even FC Seoul was a good team, but they did lose against Daejeon Hana Citizen, which is like, or is it Jeonnam? Is it Hana Citizen? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember what
Daejeon.
the team. But I know it's one of the new teams that came up into K-League 1 this year. And yeah, he had a stinker, minus decisive. And then last but not least, Fabian Klos. That was the most painful one because I was watching the match. Everybody around him scored. He's the main central striker. The wingers scored goals. The midfielder had assists. Everybody in the world had decisive because there were 3 goals that were scored. But he didn't score a single one. And he's not.
I think that's the most frustrating part,
Yeah.
It's like when you see everyone else score except the player you have, it just burns inside. You're like, what did I do wrong here?
So I will decide who to give. Actually, you know what? I might give Nkosi Burgess because Nkosi Burgess, like I feel bad giving people like Badarik and Plazovic because I don't want people to have like shitty cards also. Maybe I'll give away Nkosi Burgess as a prize next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking about prizes also, I think we can do it right after this, right? So
sure.
So next week giveaway will be Nkosi Burgess. But we need to clear and cover this week's giveaway. And let me just showcase. So as you guys know, we did a giveaway with Yusuf Gazibegovic, which is a very good card for Stengas. We had a pretty good number of replies and on, so I'm pretty happy. So we are going to actually draw the winner right now live, right? And there are 55 entries. So we have loaded up. We're pressing continue right now. And the winner is, let's begin the draw. The winner will be Sorare Ukrainian Hub. Okay.
Congratulations to Sorare Ukrainian Hub.
Exactly, man. So yeah, we will definitely contact you, and we will, send you that prize. Congratulations. So guys, next week we'll be doing the same thing. So we'll put up a post, and we'll be giving away a Nkosi Burgess from FC Dallas. Okay.
And just want to say one thing before we move on. Thank you guys for all the engagement that we've had, even on Spotify where we posted the audio, even online on our YouTube video. Honestly, any tips and feedback that people have is important, and even the interactions on Twitter. Honestly, it means the world to both of us. Trust us. Agree,
definitely, man. We're doing it mainly for for the benefit of everyone. We find a lot of joy because, like I said, we've benefited from the community. So this our little way of kind of giving back. And yeah, so we hope to continue in doing this. So I think the next step we're going to run through is actually some of the Sorare news that happened this week. So I think the big one, right? Of course, the 2023 unique Mbappe auction. I watched the auction live on Sorare Data, with the Sorare Data on the Sorare Data stream on YouTube, which was pretty cool actually. There was Queenie and a couple of other guys, and we were going through. I mean, it looked like it was going to be Pranksy. So Pranksy is one of the newest whales that joined the Sorare ecosystem. But in the end, it's Roxy, man. So Roxy is, as some might know, is one of the biggest Sorare users, one of the biggest whales. He won the card for 180,000 euros, right? That's insane, guys.
You could get a car in that value, guys.
No, you can get like a Ferrari in that value.
Exactly. So imagine that.
Yeah, that's like a price of not maybe brand new, but at least a good used Lambo, in certain countries. Not in Singapore, we live in Singapore. That's impossible. That's impossible. I mean, 180 is like probably just the price of a Toyota in Singapore.
Quite literally, it's the sad reality of our country.
Sad reality, yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so it's insane. I think one of the key things that came out that was really cool was that it actually beat the price of the highest physical collectible of Mbappe. The highest physical Mbappe collectible was like 100K or maybe slightly lesser or slightly more. I'm not sure exact prices, but I know it beat. So I mean, like, I don't know. For me, it feels that there's been so much like FUD on Sorare. People saying that Sorare dead or dying. There's a couple of guys. There's this guy that I've kind of got a couple of spat on. This guy got Goka. Whose like main goal is to just kind of spread fat around Sorare. I mean, if you speak truth, it's fine. But if you start twisting truth, I think that's where it gets a bit murky. And people are very impressionable these days. But I think my take is this, 100%. Right? You can't believe everything that you read. Do DYOR, do your own research. Figure out. There is a reason why Sorare is at the position it is right now, and people are still investing in the game. You have new whales coming in. We have like auctions going for insane prices. Yes, we are not at that level when it was a few years ago, but then nothing is. The whole market has basically crashed. Not just and the fact that Sorare is still doing that well says a lot about the team. So I'm very happy. I'm still very pro on the future of Sorare, and that's why I'm still investing money into it as much as I possibly can. How was it for you, Adit, when you saw the news of it coming up?
For me, honestly, I was like thinking, imagine the amount of you think people are rich, and then you can see people dropping 180k on a unique Mbappe. It's like, and then you see all these other big galleries, right? They have valuations of like 3 million. And
4 million.
I'm like,
I think Roxy's valuation is about 4 million right now.
It's like you don't even realize how rich people are, and then you see that it's like unbelievable wealth in this. But like what you said about people spreading FUD, and the problem is, I think just the community is a bit shaky right now because people are leaving the game at this time because prices are getting hammered. But now it's picked up a bit. So like it's very easy to make an impression and people just get scared about it. So people spreading FUD is, I think, it will always be a permanent fixture, which will be the problem. But I think as we've seen in the last week or so, the prices last week were terrible. Like we were talking about it last week, the prices are just terrible. Now our valuations for both our galleries have gone up a decent amount.
But cycles, right? That's why I say,
exactly.
I've been in this. I'm not saying that I know the most or anything. I've seen this happen like a year ago, right? Whenever there's international week, prices go down, which is a buy time. That's where you got to load up, right? 100%. And then once the thing comes, so there will be. So once the Euro leagues are starting to go down, starting to have lesser games, then you start seeing that there will be people selling off some other players because they can't play with those players anymore. Which is why I've been kind of doing a lot of shift in my gallery to Asian leagues and MLS and Cham America, because then they have utility. And also, I think one very, very important thing is that people got to stop thinking that Sorare is an investment vehicle, right? It has an element of investment. I'm not saying there isn't, right? It's more of, it's still a game, guys. It's still a game. You're still doing it for enjoyment. You're doing it for rewards. And yes, you can trade from time to time, but it's not something that, I find that you're supposed to put all your money into and think that it will grow. And please, we are still in a still very in a beginning stages of, I find, Sorare's growth. But yeah, there's still a lot of things to look forward to. Yeah. And then there were a few podcasts. There were a couple of very interesting podcasts that happened that I really liked. So the Sorare team, Alak Kakpor, which is, I think, one of the key guys, is the COO, if I'm not wrong, of Sorare. And then I'm sorry if I butchered your name, bro. And then another one is actually Dan. So Dan is a very famous guy in Sorare. He's the guy on Discord. He's the guy on Twitter. He's basically the community manager. He's been there for a very long time. He started off as a volunteer, but now he actually works for Sorare. So they actually went up on John Nellis's podcast. And I urge everyone to definitely give that a listen. Shout out to John Nellis, one of the definitely OG content creators for Sorare. So anyways, yeah, there were a lot of things that were covered. I think the one key thing that I really liked was the burn mechanism. So one of the key things that I've always discussed is that, we are starting like today, this week, I got a tier 5 from Asia. This guy has no absolute utility for me. I can't even sell him if I wanted to. So for me, I'm stuck with this card forever. So where do I put this card? So there must be some sort of way for me to kind of create utility for this card. So one of the things that happened last time in FIFA Ultimate Team is that's what happened before. So that's why they created this thing called SBCs, right? Squad building challenges, where you can actually exchange a card for something else, right? You build a team, you exchange that team for a card or some value or some coins or something like that. So I think something of that level is coming to Sorare. How that is, we don't know when that will happen. It won't, but all we know is that it is definitely a high priority for them, and they're definitely working on it. So Adit, on your end, what do you think about, a burn mechanism? Would that be something that you enjoy?
Honestly, that would be something I would really enjoy, considering there are a lot of cards, and I've spoke about this before, like where I have no utility and they're just in my gallery, which I'm not going to use. So like, yeah, even if I get a prize and like the youngster I had, if I don't end up using him, right, then he's just going to be there and he might not perform or anything. So this burn mechanism would actually be very valuable for a lot of players, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who have cards that they don't use at all, or just like they just keeping because no one, it's impossible to sell. So I think it's a very important feature for Sorare to implement. And obviously it won't be perfect the first time it comes out. Nothing is perfect. It'll just slowly improve itself. So I think people should also give Sorare a bit of props for this idea. They're listening to the community, because
Yes,
100%. There's no way they'll just bring this up without if feedback from the community didn't talk about this. So this is a very good move from Sorare. So I'm very impressed and very happy that it's coming soon.
cool. Nicholas also, who's the CEO of Sorare, did an interview with Sora Data Podcast. I kind of skimmed through it a little bit of the key points. I think Sorare Data did like, because it was done in French. So they did like some sort of an English kind of review of it. Do you watch it? Do you get a chance to watch it?
I didn't have a chance to watch this one.
Okay. So you should, I think one of the key things that came out there was, I think Nicholas was being very, very, I would say very, very open. I find very, very transparent about some of the even issues that they are having. So one of the key things that people are talking a lot is about the Sorare marketing. I got into a couple of conversations about marketing. They're saying that why are we showing this kind of Insta stories? Why we're not looking at doing something that is more design friendly and all. I think me coming from a bit of a marketing background, I kind of understood what some of those what they're trying to do. I mean, I just from a surface level, for example, like some advertising is not meant to to engage you or to look good, but it's just for you to push you to click, right, to go to the next stage. My issue always has been that I find as much as improvements they made with the website itself, it's not easy to convert someone into a Sorare user, at least a paid user, I find, because maybe free to play is slightly better, but the paid one is so tough because it's just simple things like I need to buy ETH, like I need to deposit ETH. Then what does that mean? Then how do I get my ETH out? How do I do this? How do I do that? I think I had to help a lot of the people within our community, right? Telling them that you got to do this, you got to do that. You use MetaMask and then you connect it. And then this is how you deposit. This is how you withdraw. I had to do a lot of onboarding, and I did it for a few people. I mean, Dylan, Chris, you, and everything like that. I mean, there's a couple of our friends that we've kind of done that, right? And for me, I've always feel that that's a stumbling, but nothing about that is very, very clear. So one thing that really came out in the interview is that Nicholas said that he understands that. He actually, and that's the reason why he's not been going all out gung-ho on marketing, because he's afraid that if I spend all these marketing dollars, but the site is the way it is, I can't convert them into actual users. So I think one thing that to note is that I find it's good that we see that kind of, honesty, right, from him. And the fact that he's also he also understands that his site isn't the best. I think the one thing that they're really working on that is super high priority for them is to have a fiat equivalent of ETH, right? So I don't have to change my whatever into crypto. I can actually pay directly using cash or using actual currency. So I think if that happens, I think that's a huge game changer. What do you think, Adit? I mean, of stuff like maybe talk through your journey, because you're a newer guy in Sorare. How did you deposit? How did you do that? Stuff like that. That'd be quite useful to also share your experience.
So what I do is I transfer it through MetaMask, and honestly, it was a bit of a confusion. Like I asked you at least like 3 or 4 times, even though I use MetaMask a lot, it was a bit confusing because as a new user, it's a bit of an alien thing. You're like,
but you're a crypto user before, right? You bought crypto before. Okay, go on.
So it was just like making the process like more seamless. Now I'm obviously, because I do it much more, it just goes like step by step and I know everything. But initially, if you don't know, you're just caught out a bit. You're like, that's why I had to ask people for help. And I think honestly, people shouldn't be scared to ask for help. Yeah, so even these small things, I feel it just like, if it makes your life easier, you just ask. People will on Sorare community will be willing to help. You can ask us, you can ask anyone, John Nellis, literally anyone is willing to help you. Just it makes it easier. And transferring crypto or cash or anything, fiat is so seamless after that. Obviously, it'll take a bit of time to not perfect, but like improve it drastically, but it's on the correct way forward, in my opinion. So like, I was using MetaMask, and initially, like, I had a few problems because the prices were a bit off. So at that time, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to invest or just keep it in my own like crypto account, because obviously prices were so low at that time. I was like a bit iffy on it, but like I also saw the value in Sorare, where I thought, since it's all linked to real life performances, you can make a bit of profit also. So I think it's just like, if you're having problems with adjusting, if you're a new user, just ask people, because in this community, people are really willing to help.
Yeah, it says a lot that for you, even who's a very savvy crypto user, you also had still stumbling blocks to go through. So what if someone who doesn't have any crypto, which is still people have, I mean, we don't live in a bubble. I mean, both of us are very into crypto, but there's a lot of people who aren't. And I find that there is such a huge opportunity to kind of get those people in, the fantasy people, gambling people, stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of people, but that is always a huge barrier. I find if they can, to me, that is the key. If they can work out a way to onboard people better and faster, then people are gonna start seeing. Because the thing about Sorare, once you're in, you're more or less hooked, right? You have moments where you come out and come back in, but the game itself if you are a football fan, the game itself makes football so much more enjoyable. We say this a lot of times, in our podcast, in our previous podcast. It makes football so much more enjoyable. It makes you look at players in a very, very different way. And then you make you understand the game a lot better. So for me, it's actually very invaluable as a football fan to actually have an experience like this in Sorare. But yeah, I mean, until they get through that hoop, I think it's pretty key. So yeah, those are the key news that we have. I think next is we're gonna go through the saints and the sinners of a week. So I'll share the screen once again.
Saints was a bit of a toss-up for me this week. Sinner, there was one. Ooh, let's not talk about it.
Okay, so who is your saint of the week?
My saint, I think, as I've said in our last podcast, has to be Aiden Morris.
Aiden Morris.
It's so hard to, even though I had a lot of players that really performed this week, it has to be Aiden Morris. He's just a fantastic player, and it's just good to see that.
Do you watch him live?
Oh yeah, I watched him live. It was really good to see you. Like, you made the right decision.
Yeah.
So now, like, honestly, like, I hope, obviously, he's in a great form. Look at it. Look at that. Even AA wise, even if he didn't have a decisive, he would have scored 60 points. So anything above that, perfect for me. And like, he's playing on a good team, so that's also an important factor. Yeah. His team is also performing on different fronts. So Aiden Morris, my star boy. I don't know how much willpower, as I said before, that I can keep him around, but I'm so happy that he performed perfectly for me.
So the thing about Aiden Morris that's pretty crazy also is that, this is his breakout year. He didn't really play much last year. That's one. Number two, also, one thing, I read a story about how this guy actually got Aiden Morris as a tier 5 equivalent reward last year. And it was a rare reward. So he just kept it in his gallery for the longest time. And then now he has so that's why I say you got to keep some of the under 23s that you win, because you never know, right? So one of the reasons why Aiden Morris performed so well is because the guy that he took over moved to another club. So then he got the chance this year to actually and I did hear from people about how he's very talented. He has the Enzo Fernandez kind of vibe, because the play goes through him, right? And then he kind of rotates from attack to defense and stuff like that. So I think when I saw him play the first time, like I said, I think this guy is a definite buy. So that's your saint, huh? Okay, so my saint, that's my saint. Let me see who my saint is. My saint is
I thought you were going to say Saint Max, I thought you were going to say Saint Max at the same time.
It's pretty close. My saint is actually a Newcastle player, and he is Joey Lock, man. I think Joey Lock had an insane game last week.
I wonder against who supports United on this podcast. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so Joey Lock, his price is going up. He's pumping, which is nice. So the thing about Joey that's very interesting is because, firstly, he's back in the starting lineup simply because there have been a couple of injuries. He was actually skirting around the subs bench and stuff like that. He has always been a good scorer, though. I find that whenever he plays, there's always a good element of him doing very, very well. So I think if you look at his SO5 scores also, right, and you see whenever he plays, right, a lot of it are all sub appearances. But whenever he plays, he's actually pretty good. So he had like a run of really 3 good games, and then what happened? And all of them had decisive. And then he actually injured himself a little, but I'm very happy that he got subbed on for at least 20 over minutes. So which means he will probably start in the next game, and that's good for me. So that means that he's going to start. So Joey Lock for me, fantastic AA, fantastic. He's been playing very, very well for Newcastle. So he's my sinner of the week. So I'm very happy about that. Okay, how about you, man? What's your sinner? Who's your sinner?
It has to be Alexander Meyer from Dortmund.
Oh, the guy that didn't even play.
I was so confident he was going to start because I was thinking Bayern Munich, you don't change your team drastically for a Bayern Munich game. And Dortmund are at the top, so they need to keep the consistent performing team. So I thought, okay, fine. Kobel was on the bench and he was getting his match fitness back. And sadly, the manager went with him instead and had an absolute howler. I am hoping Alexander Meyer still keeps on playing, but I don't think Meyer would have had as bad of a game had he started. That's all I'm saying. Maybe it's a bit salty, but I was 100% he was going to start. And it really hurt. When I saw the starting lineup, I was like, there's no way he's going to get subbed out either. So I was like, damn it. And because I got a prize in All-Star, right? And I was 5.95 away from a tier 4. I'm pretty sure he would have got a 5.95 somehow, So it just sucks. That
you could have probably got tier 3, man.
Exactly.
Maybe 4.2, 2 goals means he doesn't get negative decisive. So the max you probably get about 35, 30 maybe. 30 is like what? You probably 30, see 24 is tier 3 already. You needed 35 points to just get 30. So, yeah. Okay, so yours is mine. So mine is the 220 guy, man. Oh my god, that guy is so bad. His name is Doma. I even have his rare. So Doma Gotch Braderick. I have no idea how you can score 20 points, how you can get a minus 15 decisive. You must literally forgot how to play football on that day or something like that. Look at that. Everybody had like okay scores,
Even a 40 somewhere. It would have been nice.
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at him, right, defense 5, his possession. He had minus 15 on possession. This guy kept losing the ball. He lost the possession 26 times.
That reminds me of Bruno Fernandes. That really reminds me of Bruno Fernandes.
How do you lose? It's so bad. I think partly because he's a defender card that plays as almost like a wing back. But I mean, it depends on how well he played, right? So that shows that he didn't have a good game. So yeah.
But I think the bottom line of how you scouted him was accurate. I thought he was going to perform, and I was about to buy his card before the game week when you told me about him. I generally was scouting him. I was like, maybe I should buy him. But I back your analysis on him. It's just some games is just a bad one. You can't predict. I think Sorare also is an element of luck. You have to have luck go somewhere.
It's all calculated risk, right? Yeah. I mean, everything you do is never always guaranteed, right? But you try to make the odds in your favor. I think that's what you try to do. That's where you have information, you get knowledge. I think everything in life is basically like that also. So it's not purely just, I'm just putting out players just for fun. You did your research. He's supposed to play well, but he didn't. But they're humans, right? People make mistakes, right? And stuff like that. Okay, so next, we go into our next category, and it's our this week's 220 euro $15 challenge. Okay, so last week I did one, as we talked about. So this week, okay, and you've promised. So what we're going to do is that we're going to run through each player so you talk about your defender, then I'll talk about my defender. We've decided not to talk about the goalkeepers because the goalkeepers are usually just comments. Basically, it fits whatever your cap allows you. So like for Adit, he has 50. So anyone that hits the 50 will work to it. But I think what's more important is scouting of the 4 key players. So Adit, talk to me about your defender, Mats.
So I chose Mats Teichhausen. So honestly, I think Midtjylland have been playing pretty well I was in between him and Gartman. Gartman. I think he was also cheaper because Gartman was out of our budget now since we're trying to stay at 15. I had to go for a cheaper option, but he is in good form. You can see in his last 5 games, 62 points. I don't think I can really ask for more. This week, I think I went more on form rather than matchups. Some games are good matchups. Some games I'm just going because they're in good form, and I'm hoping that continues. So I think he's also. I was watching a bit of his game. I didn't watch. I watched about 30 minutes of his game. He played decently well. So the team that he plays for, Midtjylland, I'm sure people have seen their team in the Europa League, Champions League. They're a good team, and now as they're in playoffs, so I think it's a very scoreable game for him. I would be expecting around 50 points from him, and he's such a low cap player. 37 is like a steal. If he can basically double his score, that's all.
And then $1, man, you can't go
exactly.
Wrong. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's yours. I'm going a slightly more expensive option, Mr. John Nelson. Yes, he had a stinker. His AA might not sound good, but his cap is still pretty low, 41. And then I think they have a pretty decent matchup. I've seen him play a lot. He's actually a pretty good player. So yeah, this is not a new player, John Nelson, but so that's mine. Okay, how about your midfielder, dude?
My midfielder is Lorenzo Araújo. Rodez has been in good form. They've won the last 4 of the 5 games, and he's been instrumental. He's been scoring a very decent amount, and as you can see, it's proven. He starts also. He plays well. 62 points. This is what I was saying about like previously. It's just for now. He's going against a higher opposition, but I still think that he has the opportunity and the he creates chances, and he's a very high AA scorer. It's not only dependent on his decisive, because I feel if you go only decisive, it's a very hard to score. If you don't score on your decisive, you're in big trouble. So I think a good matchup, and he's been in good form. So that's why I went for him.
Cool. So mine is a pretty young midfielder actually. So it's Brandon Savania. He plays pretty much like the CM role for Toronto right now. He's actually scored. He's another guy that is very AA friendly person. Dallas, not Toronto, my bad. So the thing about Dallas is that they've been a bit of a hit or miss kind of team. So, but for me, I'm okay with him simply because of the fact that he's AA dependent, not decisive dependent, and very low cap, 39, and his last 5 is actually 52. So I'm banking on him. He's already started the last 5 games, and yeah. So Brandon Savania from Dallas. Okay.
By the way, before we go on to my player, can you just look at that K-League card? That looks fantastic. Yeah. The design just looks fantastic.
All the new cards look so good.
It looks fantastic. It's just
MLS and all. Yeah.
Chef's kiss. It's the vibes.
Okay, sorry. Your turn now. Emmanuel Herrera.
Emmanuel Herrera is a bit on the older side here, but he's again in good form. In the last 4 or 5 games, he's got 3 goals and 1 assist. He starts. He's coming up against a team that has been about a near match to where his current team is. I genuinely think I went last week for a player for my America team, Barrera. He's also on the older side, and he played really well. I watched him. He got an assist, and it pushed me to a reward. I can't be angry about that. I'm hoping for the same here. For this, he's my most expensive player, but I think it's also because of form. If you see his price chart, it's been up recently due to his increase in form. He might, because of it's a bit of a risk here because he's older. He's 34 years old, so 34 or 35 years old. So he obviously might get subbed off earlier, but I think he has he's been creating chances, and he's been on the end of some chances. So I think he has the potential to score here, and I'm hoping this helps me beat you again, guys. Again.
Okay, again. Okay, so for my forward, it's funny, you went your most expensive forward. Mine is the cheapest player. My forward is $1. I went back to close again, right? Because I watched the match, right? I was following the match. It's not a bad player, right? He's just unlucky. And his team is still on good form, right? Amina Byfield, and they concede a lot, but they score a lot of goals. So yes, last week was a bit unlucky for him, but I'm pretty sure he can probably get at least an assist or a goal this week. So that's why I kept. So we have a rule now that we can keep at least maximum 2 players from last week. So you decided to change your whole team, right?
Yeah.
I kept one, even though I had probably the worst. I still keep 1% of that. Okay, so your flex, your last player, talk to me.
Sona Dickman. So he has been in good form, and his team is mid-table, playing against a lower opposition. This one is a matchup kind of game. I see potential for him to score a decent amount, and he's a lot of AA base. In his last few games, he's averaged about 13, 14 AA, which is pretty decent, and he's got a few decisives here and there. So if I can mix both of them together, he plays as a center midfielder. He can get tackles, he can get goals, assists, and what more do you want as a manager on Sorare? He'll score for you defending, he'll score for you going forward, and I'm just happy. And for a price of 174, it's very hard to go wrong. Even though the league is ending soon, it's just hard to go wrong on that price. So that's why I went
$1.74 for midfielder. That's good, man.
Exactly,
really good. One thing I realized that your chart looks all nicer than mine. Like you scouted literally the best low cap and
but that's also provide me in the
low L10, high L5. So I think I have to give you kudos for that, because you look at mine, it's not as nice. Except my
your last guy looks pretty good, to be fair.
So the last guy is Hong Jong-un from Daegu. He's actually a bit of a legend. Like, I've known him for quite some time. I had his card last year. Our good friend Chris, Critical Chris, also had his card. I think he won a bunch of rewards using this card also before. So he's Daegu concedes goals. So the only thing that I worry is that whether they concede too much, right? If they concede the one odd goal is expected, but this guy has a very, very strong AA game, right? Because Daegu always gets pressured, he has to do a lot of tackles. He has to do a lot of, interceptions, and he's actually a pretty decent defender. It's just that Daegu isn't set up defensively pretty well. So it's a bit of a risk, though, even though he's been on a good form, right? Last 562. Another thing about him is that he gets injured pretty often. So I don't know. Hopefully not. But for now, at least if he doesn't, then I'm happy. So in terms of highs, my team has what the most they've got is about 265, and then your team actually had a 324 before. So your team has higher ceilings based on historical results.
But this is the problem. I'm going for form, and form runs out. So sooner or later, form runs out. So
we'll see. So if we have to put it to bookies, right? The bookies will probably say you have a higher chance of winning compared to me. But we'll see, right? Okay. So this is our challenge. Another thing is that, guys, we will make changes sometimes if, let's say, there's injuries or not. I think I made some minor changes for my lineup, which I did was So I just want to be very clear to the rules. Yes, you are allowed changes if it's because sometimes you might think this is the cap, then suddenly on the day itself you realize, holy shit, this guy doesn't fit the cap and whatever. Which is why we kept the goalkeeper blank. So you have to figure out the best way to add what goalkeeper that fits, right? Yeah.
And I will be honest, yesterday when I was making this team, I put a player that isn't even in the league. Rookie mistake. You guys actually have to be sure of that. I even though I've been on Sorare for a while now, I made that stupid mistake. Thank God Yas told me, or else I would have gone and bought him.
Kept quiet.
I would have been in so much trouble. I would have lost it just because I didn't check.
Yeah, because he put a Jubilo Iwata. I mean, it's a bit bugged because on Sorare it doesn't show that it's a non-covered league, right? But because all the last year's J League teams are somehow still in. So if you do your searches on Sorare data, be careful with the J League, especially because some players are technically not playable at the moment. Yeah.
So thanks to Yas for telling me.
I'm a fair guy. Okay, I want to beat you fair and square. I don't want to beat you. Using
we'll see about the beating part. We'll see about that one.
Okay, so let's this is the last part where we just kind of talk a little bit about our highlights for the next game week. Okay, I'll just start off first on my end. So this week, I think it's big week for me because I've moved a lot of my limiteds to rare. So, last week I talked about having a Celtic stack, about Messi. I've actually traded all of those players for rare players, right? Rare players that are in the Champ America and Champ Asia leagues, right? Doesn't mean I'll be playing those leagues, but it's more to have players that have utility in the next few months rather than not. So that's what I've done, based on my high on winning threshold. I don't know how it's going to be, because rare prices are a lot higher. I don't have a Messi equivalent or a Celtic equivalent for rare. So my focus will be a lot more on the cap modes. So I'm playing cap 220, 240, and 270. And for the first time I can't play kickoff anymore because I have more than 10 rare cards.
Oh my God.
So I'm locked out of kickoff right now, which is kind of sad though, because I kept some high tier limited because I wanted to do kickoff. So yeah, I think that's the big shift. So a bit nerve wracking for me to go into rare. Like this is probably the first time I had so many rare in my gallery, and I'm still looking to add more as the months go on. You will start seeing a lot more rares in my gallery. Intend to actually invest a little bit more as we go along. So I think that's the big, I would say, highlight for me. How about you, Adit? What are you looking forward to, and what's your mind state for the next upcoming game week?
I think there's some leagues that are ending soon. So there's also the Liga Smart Bank, which is the second Spanish league. There are few players who are going to get going to go into the La Liga next season. I'm thinking of investing in a few of them, and some of them that just because I think they might have utility, and I think this is the point we had last time. I'm not keeping them for going into La Liga. Some because people would have sold off their players thinking, okay, the league is ending. There's a bit of method to this madness. I know I'm going to get a few.
Okay. The thing is, we can debate a bit about this on the podcast, right? Yeah. So the thing is, I feel if it's the reverse, it's fine. If you're buying Forest players now to play in the championship, kudos to you. That's exactly what you should do. You shouldn't do the reverse. Like, for example, you go through, let's say we talk about players like Alex from the Las Palmas stack, the Las Palmas defense.
Yeah.
Las Palmas defensive stack. Alex Fares or Cubello and all.
Yep.
Insane scorers right now, right? They are not gonna have those scores in La Liga, dude. They are gonna be shit in La Liga in the first league. They are going to probably concede 5 goals because they're gonna go against Barcelona. They're gonna go to Real Madrid. They're gonna go to Atletico, right? Betis. So for me, you gotta be careful. Like it's okay to look forward, but I find getting players upwards from a lower league to a higher league, their value usually tanks rather than increases. It should be the reverse. You should look at who is relegating from La Liga right now and going into. That's why I'm looking, like you say, like what you said just now, Harvey Barnes. Like okay, maybe not then they might move. Who else in the Leicester team, right? That might not move, but will be a monster in the championship. Yeah, that's just my point. Yeah.
No, there's also one more player for Southampton, James Ward-Prowse. I think he'll go to top 6 team. He's too good. He's too good for championship. He'll go to a top 6 team, genuinely top 6 team. So people could invest in that because
but you shouldn't do that also because I tell you why. Okay, I give an example. You remember Danny Drinkwater from Leicester City? He was a monster for Leicester City. We go Chelsea, what happened?
In value.
How many Kantes are there? There's not going to be a lot of Kantes and Mahrez. Even Mahrez does not have the same utility as when he was at Leicester. Because when they go to a bigger team, they're going to have more places. Jack Grealish, fantastic person. Like, yes, he has good games, but he doesn't play all the time.
True.
Because there's so many other good players. But if he was in Villa right now, he'd be getting hundreds every week.
True.
So for me, like, moving to investing in a player that goes to a better team or a better league is a no-no. That's why a lot of people got very pissed off at Gakpo. Because Gakpo was killing it in Eredivisie.
True.
He's doing pretty okay in Liverpool, but he's not the same player that he was.
Not the same level as he was.
Exactly. So like for me, Leicester, right? Like a good example, like Tete, right? Like I'm pretty sure Tete is going to go to another league. Like a lower league, right? Or maybe even stay in Leicester City. That's fine. because then you get then you'll be. So I mean, okay, this is just my point, guys. Like I just want to be very upfront, Adi. Like you don't invest don't invest players that are going to tougher teams or tougher leagues. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think it's two sides of the coin here. I see a bit of value in them. Obviously, it might not work out, but like I see a bit of value in them.
No, but okay, what are you basing that value on, though?
So, obviously, I think if a lower team goes to a bigger league, they would have to defend more. So if I'm going for a defender, right, they would have to defend more.
But they will concede more.
Concede more, but there's also a possible chance they'll get more AA in terms of tackles, in terms of blocks, clearances.
Historically, has that happened? Has that happened to Forest? Like, okay, let's look at teams that this year, right, who technically just went up, right? So Forest is one. Who else? Forest, Fulham is another, right? And who's the third? I can't remember who the third one is.
Bournemouth.
Okay, let's look at Bournemouth.
Let's not talk about Bournemouth.
So, okay, if you look at those three teams, right?
Yeah.
Are they? Have they?
They're struggling, to be fair.
You get what I mean? So, so, I mean, like, got to be very careful because the thing is, I've actually thought a lot about this also. So, for me, to me, the value comes in doing the reverse, right? Buying teams that are going to relegate right now and then going to second division, then you're going to see a lot of value. Burnley is a perfect example for that. Look at how Burnley is. Burnley was shit in the Premier League. And Burnley will be shit when they go up to the Premier League. That's why if you look at all the Burnley players, you look at it, they're all tanking right now.
True.
You realize all Burnley players are tanking right now. Because people know when the company is going to get baptism.
Yeah.
You think what? You think your what Haywood Bellis is going to do well against the like of freaking Haaland? Haaland is going to eat him alive. Like
That's
legit.
true.
I don't know. Just sorry, I'm being a bit animated.
No. Fair enough. I think this is also quite important for the viewers who there might be a few who have the same thought process as me. It's honestly important. Someone who's been playing this game for longer than me. It's always good to have.
I think the thinking is there. It's just that it's not apple to apple. So I think sometimes when we try to look forward, right, we tend to think that it's apple to apple. Like if this player plays well this year, he's going to definitely play well next year. It's not. I mean, situation change, right? There's no guarantees, right? Especially when your environment changes. So I think Nep had a very, very good podcast with with Ladino on Sorare data, right? And he talked about players getting a huge pump when they go to CSL. So for example, like Marcus Pink, right? Yeah. Marcus Pink, and I've seen this with a couple of players. One player that I had called Peter Zuch. I actually bought this. So I made this mistake that Nep was saying. So what happens? They think, oh, this guy's going to go CSL. He's going to kill in CSL. If you look at his chart now, people are buying him like almost like 3x of what his price was maybe like a week ago. But people forget, going into a new league, going to a new team takes time for you to that one. So it usually takes about 2-3 months before they find their form. So what happens is that they play the first few matches, or the worst part, the guy doesn't start the first few matches. And then suddenly the price tanks all the way down to even below what he was. That is the time to buy. Because when he starts getting the groove, he's going to kill it. So I saw this exact thing with the player called Peter Zuch, Petr. I bought at a high. I said, oh, he's going to see us. And then what happened was that he just literally did not play at all for the first 5 weeks. I was thinking, oh my God, I bought him like, and then he went from $12 to like $1 at one point in time. And then after like 10 games or something like that, the guy just started scoring greens everywhere. Like hundreds, 80, 70, you know. And guess what? Your boy sold him already at a loss.
Oh, so you were going so high. I thought you were going to say you got profit. I was like, oh my God.
There's no fairy tale ending.
Oh, no,
this was a lesson for me. There's no fairy tale ending. It's a lesson. So that's why I say, guys, like always put into consideration the environment that these players are going to go into. Tete is a good example. Kill it in Lyon, goes out of Lyon. You think Leicester is didn't play well. So that's why you see there's champion, there's challenger, right?
Yeah.
So usually a player that plays well in challenger, when they go to champion, unless you're like Enzo Fernandez, there are of course outliers. Majority of them do not do well, or they take time for them to reach that level they were in when they were in challenger. But when a champion player goes to challenger, that's why people like Balotelli can go crazy in Turkish league. True. He can score hundreds when he's like in his 30s, man, in a Turkish league.
Even Icardi, if you look at Icardi, he's scoring tons.
Even Zaniolo now. from
Exactly.
Roma to exactly. So those to me are the deals that you kind of want to, right? Relegation troubled guys go to second division. That's where, unless you're Sunderland, and then you like get relegated again, and then I laugh because
go down and down.
and then Netflix make a documentary about it, and then I laugh my ass off. Like whenever I feel down, that's what I watch to make myself feel good.
Is it something to do with a rivalry? Maybe that's also
maybe exactly. Okay, so we are at time. We are at 1 hour plus already. Oh my god, I think the debate cost it to go over. So, anyways, thank you so much, guys. This has been a really awesome podcast for us. We hope that you enjoy it. My name is Yas. Adit, you have any last words?
Yes, thank you all for coming, showing support on our videos and showing support on our Twitter pages. We're thankful for it, and we hope to see you again.
Yeah, man. And remember, guys, we have our giveaways. Please do check our Twitter, check our YouTube, our Spotify, follow, give us comments, man. Tell us what we can do better. I know the first one wasn't as good. We hope the second one will be better, and then get better and better and better. And then very soon we get signed by, or Sorare Data sponsors us, or Sorare sponsors us and tell us, hey, yo, Adit and Yas, let's go for a trip to Japan and watch a J-League match. That'll be nice. Anyways, there's the goal, guys. There's the goal.
Or United versus Newcastle.
That's a bit too far, but whatever. Anyways, I'm okay with J-League, man. Okay, so
fair enough.
So thank you so much and have a good one. Peace.
Peace out.